This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Today's talk focuses on Tesla ERP versus Oracle and SAP. We take a look at some of the issues that are being had right now in the delivery of vehicles, how and why, and what the implications are going forward. The second thing we take a look at is, given where we're at in the development of the Model 3 and its delivery, how is this setting us up relative to earnings? And then how do earnings look heading into the October announcement, and how does that impact the stock relative to chance of going out of business or not? This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time on our channel, please take time to like and subscribe. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. Also, please note we're on Patreon. Could use help. $1 or $2 a month would definitely be helpful. And also note that we do have ads and we try to minimize, so we'd appreciate it if you take, 8 to 10 seconds to view ads, and this also helps to make the channel viable. I have a regular group of folks, including you, Jerry, that say hello, and I really appreciate you all joining us. Your input really affects the viability of our channel and is always appreciated. Now, I was fascinated because if you go to our Tesla Fan Insight sort of page over at Facebook, there's something strange happening. Over the last, let's say, 3 months, we've gone from 3 months ago, if you looked in the parking lot, you would notice that every week, pretty much every car that was in the lot would be gone within a few days or by the next photo we took when we did a 1-week update. So there's been some interesting developments going on, which was, why is it that you have all these vehicles that are produced and that are now sitting on lots around the country unsold? So one of the question marks that's been lurking on the top end of this is there's a difference between vehicles produced by Tesla and vehicles sold by Tesla. So if those vehicles are produced and are still sitting on the lot, yes, we can say they were produced, but they haven't been sold. They aren't getting the cash for them in order to help meet the financial obligations that the company has. And so the next clue that popped up was that if you take a look at our last show and the comments from that show, as well as read anything that's out there, part of the production hell Elon Musk has talked about is the fact that they've gotten to the production numbers they need, but the next point is they've entered something he called delivery hell. So we're seeing things like people getting texts or emails that their vehicles will be ready soon, and then all of a sudden the vehicle's not ready and it's announced that it won't be available for a month, maybe 2, or vice versa, a month, maybe 2, when the vehicle will be available, and then all of a sudden it's announced, hey, we have a vehicle available in the next couple of days, would you like to pick it up? I tried to sort of dig into more details of what was going on in the case of a Model X. A viewer who's based in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, he indicated that the Deliveries Model X was really a nightmare, and he wasn't happy with the delivery process, even though he's happy with the car. So this lurking question has been there as to what's going on with the delivery of vehicles, because if you're able to produce them, why don't you just ship them to the customer and we're done? Well, this brings up an interesting answer, something called ERP. And so basically, there's a software process for how large enterprises are managed. There are a lot of big companies like Microsoft, obviously SAP and Oracle are some of the largest players in that field. And basically what this is about is everything from your accounting to your human resources to your, all these data inputs are put into a computer to determine what should be done. And what we're experiencing right now with Tesla is there's an issue that pops up, is that Tesla decided, hey, why don't we go ahead and build on our own ERP solution instead of relying on others. And um, and then use that solution going forward? Well, the answer to this is that building your ERP solution can be good. Tesla CIO built their ERP solution in only 40 days. So the issue is that Tesla was able to save a great deal of money by building their own solution, which is quite good. The bad part about it is that um, once you start to scale the amount of data being controlled by that ERP solution, what happens at that point? As in, will it work under stress? And what we're finding right now is that may not be the case. Now, I have a little bit of sort of background, not hardcore in terms of ERP transitions. I went to Stanford University, as we've discussed, and there was a decision made by the heads of the university that Stanford, over a 15-year period, had built their own enterprise-wide system for everything from accounting to paying people, everything. And so what happened was there was a decision made about 10 years ago. Should we keep the structure that we've built, or should we identify a company that we should move all of that ERP over to? The answer that we chose was to go with Oracle. And the result was it took us, I think, between 3 and 4 years of transitioning to Oracle in order to get a stable system that didn't have crazy things happen, like overpaying some vendors, underpaying others, employees not getting checks on time, all kinds of issues that were eventually ironed out. So the reason the university made the decision to make that transition is that we were actually in a position where many of the people that built our ERP solution were preparing for retirement. And so the question was, do we try to get documentation on our system so that future IT folks could know how to manage that ERP system, or do we switch to a company like Oracle where all the documentation goes with it, and it can move forward as there are new developments that are worth noting here? So I was kind of intrigued by this because Stanford is notoriously heavy on IT professors and practitioners. And I was thinking, man, why waste the money on Oracle? Now, my dislike of the Oracle solution is that I actually have a good friend of mine, one of our advisors to the show, who's a semi-retired Oracle IT person. He's a PhD from Georgia Tech. And what he explained to me was the Oracle process is simple. Basically, we charge you a fee every year, and basically every 4 years you're buying a new system. So you're on a constant make Oracle shareholders rich program if in fact you execute their ERP solution. And I was thinking, wow, Stanford could have saved a lot of money by not switching over to this Oracle solution. And so one of the decision-making points is, hey, how good does the system work? Does it work for other customers? Obviously, Oracle is one of the largest names in the world, and the answer is yes. The next issue is, what does it cost? How do we manage that cost over time? Are we forced to spend a lot more than we would spend normally? The answer is that clearly, because we don't own the system, we're spending more, but the perceived disadvantages of the constant upgrades and maintenance of that system might be an issue. Plus, what about stability? Will it work so that we can get what we need to do done without any issues? And the answer is, for the big purveyors like Oracle, the answer is yes. So what we're seeing now is Tesla's executives, particularly Elon Musk, considers itself half of a software company. They're in a situation right now where when it comes to things like designing their autopilot system or designing chips for the car, or in this case, designing the ERP system, the sense was, based on the talent we have access to in Silicon Valley and the talent we have internally, we should be able to get this done. And even though building something like this is a year, maybe two process, the CIO is a smart enough guy to knock this out between off the shelf and our own manpower to get this done in 40 days. So the next question is, how is this working out? And the answer is, when there weren't a lot of inputs in terms of a low number of vehicles going through, it seemed like everything was working fine. Now that we've switched up to the number of vehicles, the throughput of the system becoming more and more intense, it seems that we're starting to find bugs in that system that are hard to fix. So the hard question is, why don't I just order my car, you guys make it in California and ship it to me, we're done? The answer is that there's a whole lot of coordination that needs to go into every piece of that car coming together as you've requested it, that being produced, and then it getting into the delivery system to arrive to you. So it would not be a shock to me to actually have it be the case that there are vehicles that are produced and delivered, but maybe to the wrong location in the country, or other sort of byproducts of sort of a homemade ERP system. Jerry just raised an excellent point. If there's a problem with your system, what about documentation being thorough in terms of everything that was built so that bugs can be identified and addressed? Those are worked out in larger systems that are working for other customers and are stable over time, and Tesla doesn't enjoy that benefit. So this also feeds into one of our big discussions as we went around the Tesla process, is that what you also have going on with Tesla is, while other companies can be focused on building, producing, and delivering cars, Tesla is running, in essence, a large software company doing different heavy-duty software functions within the company. So you're drawing resources away that might go towards fulfillment of the basic needs that customers are asking you to deliver. So long-winded statement to say, I believe we're at or above the production numbers to deliver on the ROIs, or the return on investments, that Tesla has wanted. The reality is that I believe that the production is fine, but I believe that there's a lot of cars actually stuck in limbo because of the ERP system, and I hope it works out. The one last thing about this ERP issue is that if it's found that this system is breaking down as the number of inputs become extremely large, first the cost of buying, and then the transition to one of the major players, be it Oracle or Microsoft or IBM Watson, as Jerry pointed out, all those issues could result in a sort of a slowdown in what we end up with, and a lot more costs being expended by the company than anticipated, and then a long time before it's all stabilized. So we'll see how this works out. Do not be surprised to find out that if you're a buyer and expecting your vehicle in a timely fashion, it's impacted by how this ERP is performing. Jerry, I saw your question regarding how Europe would be handled currently. Tesla's done a good job of filling the pipeline with Model S's and X's in Europe, so they can put those vehicles on the water because it's the least costly process on how to move them. When it comes to the Model 3, it's possible that they're getting sort of test versions or versions that they can show around for potential customers onto planes as a way to expedite the process. But as you know, the cost of shipping versus plane, is probably 10 times the cost. So I think it's way too cost prohibitive to move large numbers of vehicles into Europe. Interesting. There is a difference between ICE manufacturers and Tesla. Mostly, they do have a software function at all these companies, but they're not trying to go after it to the degree that we're seeing the folks at Tesla get after it. The next thing I want to cover is, obviously we're heading into an earnings announcement on October 7th or 8th. The question is, how is Tesla doing on the numbers? The answer is good, not great is my anticipation, because we do have the production numbers well in hand, but we're not seeing the throughput of earnings that should be there for the number of cars produced. Hence, I think they're going to come in a little bit light on earnings expectation, but the story regarding the number of batteries that are available to go into new cars, etc., I think it's really good news. And so I think that while the numbers might be light, the guidance forward I think is going to be strong given increased production of batteries and other things that are occurring, including solving the ERP solutions that I just described. Um, as usual, I tend to sort of like to finish up what we're doing in terms of our discussion of Tesla, maybe sneak into a little bit of health effects that are associated with the demographics of our group. One of them being the last time we sort of addressed the whole issue of what's happening. I actually did some heavy duty research when I was an undergraduate related to sleep research, and sleep apnea is an area that's a real issue for a lot of people. I was impressed to learn from one of our users that he actually had an operation to address this sleep apnea and get rid of permanent use of the CPAP machine required to address that. Something to think about. I actually just finished my 20 leg lifts on each leg, and I'm about to take my vitamins post breakfast here to address sort of routine health methods. The one thing that's not happening that I'm going to try to sneak in here also is a 15-20 minute walk as a way to sort of get some air, some power walking in, because I have to admit I'm lacking a little bit in that arena. Um, I enjoy sharing ideas about eating as well as vitamins, etc., that you guys might have. We can all learn more about how to better manage health, and that's greatly appreciated. Um, I want to thank all of you for taking time out to join us as usual. Please take time to like and subscribe. Any help on Patreon you could do would be greatly appreciated. If you're experiencing ERP nightmares, as we've discussed, I've encouraged people to consider maybe identifying well-performing delivery locations, maybe further beyond your local service facility, because that might help, because you might have your vehicle shipped there instead of to your local location, and get a better experience based on problems being solved by the manager of those facilities better than in your area. So it might be an evaluating point that you might want to consider. It just feels to me like the whole North Carolina area is having some severe difficulties, and it might be worth an Atlanta or DC pickup for your vehicle to get a better experience. At any rate, once again, thanks all for joining us. Jerry, thanks for the comments once again. IBM Watson is a good suggestion. There are a lot of options on the ERP side. Um, Please join us once again. Our next show will be on Friday of this week, unless something dramatic occurs. As we've seen, drama and Tesla seems to definitely go hand in hand. We do have a big earnings announcement